All right, let's dive into our case of the week. This is a fascinating story about a brand new law, one lawyer who decided to take on the government, and a huge fight over one of the most important ideas in our entire legal system. You're going to want to hear this one, the case of the guilty director. So let me ask you a simple question. If someone, anyone, points a finger at you and accuses you of a crime, does that automatically make you guilty? I think we all know the answer is no, of course not. But what happens when a law gets written that kind of treats you that way? That's the exact idea that was just put to the test. You see, it all comes down to this core legal principle, this golden rule called the presumption of innocence. It's pretty much the bedrock of justice, not just here in Ghana, but all over the world. It means the system has to assume you're innocent. It's up to the people accusing you to prove you're guilty in court. Remember this idea. It is the key to this whole story. So you might be asking, how could such a basic, fundamental rule ever get challenged? Well, it all kicked off with a problematic new rule in Ghana's company law. Okay, so picture this. It's 2019, and a huge new law gets passed, the New Companies Act. And the goal was great. I mean, it was all about making companies run better, cleaning up the corporate world, and protecting investors. But buried deep inside this massive new rulebook was one little detail that was about to cause a very big problem. And here it is. This is the phrase that caused all the trouble. To become a director, the law said you had to declare that you hadn't been charged with or convicted of certain crimes. Now, convicted of, yeah, that makes total sense. But adding charged with? Whoa, that is a completely different ballgame. And look, this is the absolute key difference, right? Being charged simply means you've been formally accused of something. That's it. Legally, you are still presumed to be 100% innocent. Being convicted, on the other hand, means you've had your day in court and a judge or jury has found you guilty. This new law was basically treating a simple accusation like it was already a guilty verdict. So you can probably guess what happened next. Someone with a really sharp legal mind looked at this and went, wait a minute, that's not right. And he decided he had to do something about it. And that's when our protagonist enters the picture, a lawyer named Derrick Adu-Gyamfi. He saw that little phrase, charged with, and he immediately knew it was a direct shot at the presumption of innocence. He believed it went against the Constitution itself, so he did something pretty brave. He decided to sue the Attorney General to get the law thrown out. Now, he didn't just walk into this fight empty-handed. Oh no. He came armed with the Constitution itself. First up, Article 19(2)(c). That's the big one, the presumption of innocence we keep talking about. Then, Article 19(1), your right to a fair trial. And finally, Article 15(3), which says, pretty clearly, you can't be punished like a convict if you're not actually a convict. These were his constitutional weapons. And his whole argument, when you boil it down, was super simple, but incredibly powerful. He basically told the Supreme Court, look, being charged with a crime cannot be treated the same as being convicted of a crime. You just can't do that. It flips the whole idea of justice completely on its head. All right, so the stage is set. We're heading to the Supreme Court for a major legal showdown. It's one lawyer going up against the full power of the state. So here's how the arguments broke down. In one corner, you have the plaintiff, Adu-Gyamfi. He's saying this law creates a guilty until proven innocent system, and you can't punish someone just because they've been accused. In the other corner, the government says, hey, our intentions here are good. We're trying to protect the public and investors from fraud, especially after that whole banking crisis. They argued it was a necessary evil for good governance. So you've got two really compelling arguments, right? But only one can come out on top. It was all up to the highest court in the land to make the final call. And the Supreme Court broke down their thinking so clearly. First, they said, the Constitution is the supreme law. Nothing is above it. Second, this idea of presumption of innocence isn't just a nice thought. It is a fundamental human right. Third, because of that, automatically banning someone from being a director just because they've been charged totally violates that right. So the conclusion? Those words had to go. And just like that, the final verdict was in. The Supreme Court officially declared that the words charged with or in the Companies Act were unconstitutional. And with the strike of a gavel, they were wiped clean from the law books of Ghana. So yeah, a huge legal victory. But what does this actually mean for you, for me, for everyday people? Why should we care about this case? I mean, listen to this line from the court's judgment.
It just says it all. The court literally called it a sin against the Constitution to punish someone who is still presumed innocent. It's this powerful statement that our most basic rights can't just be pushed aside, even if the reason seems good, like protecting the economy. The principle itself is just more important.
So what's the final score here? The big takeaway is simple, but it's also really profound. Because one lawyer decided to stand up and challenge it, a flawed piece of a law was fixed, and a fundamental right for all of us was made stronger. It's a powerful reminder that an accusation is just an accusation. It isn't, and it can never be, the same as a conviction. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to chew on, doesn't it? This whole case was about a business law, but it really makes you think. What other rules, what other laws might be on the books right now that are quietly chipping away at our rights without us even realizing it? It just goes to show you how important it is to stay vigilant.